Good afternoon, angels. My name is Stuart Thomas and I'm the founder of Babylon Vertical Farms, growing food the way we should. Over the past few years, Malaysians have been spending up to 3.2 billion ringgit a year on food and vegetable imports, fruits especially, high-end foods. Now, Malaysia is perfectly capable of growing our own food for everyone, but with 80% of our land, farmable land, used for palm oil and bad weather patterns, we simply just can't do it. In addition to that, here and around the world, demand is increasing. Customers are wanting to buy food with good farming practices. Over here, over the past few months, with reports coming out with pesticides in soil and so forth, customers are quickly losing faith in their suppliers. This is our farm. Our solution in a controlled environment and in the city allows us to grow our crops fresher and healthier than our competitors. Customers won't have to worry about the soil in their produce or the pesticides in their produce because growing hydroponically, it doesn't require soil and it saves up to 90% more water than regular farming. Our customers, if our customers want to hold us accountable to that, they can come and visit us because we're just 10 minutes away from KLCC. Over the past few months, we've been selling to Village Grocer Bangsa. We started in November 2018. Now, the value in our sales channel is not in the outlet itself, but lies with the food purveyor. They manage the franchise brands Ben's Independent Grocer and Village Grocer. They have about 20 plus outlets here in Malaysia and are ready to stock our products because of how successful the response has been over the past few months. In the Klang Valley itself, we estimate there to be an average of 380,000 households. Now these are the top 20 income earners in the given demographic of the Klang Valley. These are our target market, and we know that these are the people who shop in outlets like Village Grocer and Ben's Independent Grocer because we've been doing our booth promotions there over the past few months and got to know our customers more intimately. Compared to our competitors, we're actually 6 times faster to our customers than our competitors in Genting Highlands and Cameron Highlands. When you're talking about how much space how much more food we can actually grow in the same amount of space, we can grow 8 times more than what our competitors can grow. Now, farm to plate is a relatively new term overseas and also here locally in Malaysia. And we know that the further the food comes, the further the farm is from the consumer, the less nutritious, the less healthy it is, and we can solve that. Our team, granted, we are not farmers. Okay? We actually have backgrounds in business, law, and accounting also. But we learned, we failed, and we learned again, and we successfully grew the farm, the picture of the farm that I showed you just now. We know what's required to be optimized in our farm and what doesn't. Over the past few years, we started in April 2016 in Magic, actually, the Social Enterprise Accelerator. And in December of the same year, we built our first farm in Ampang. In September, we planted our first batch of mint, actually. We decided to test a hardy plant and see whether the system would actually work in a commercial ready prototype. In March 2018, we started selling to small-scale restaurants in Jalan Ampang. In April, we planted kale. So we planted 4 different types of kale to try and grow imported crops that can't be grown here in Malaysia. The 4 different types of kale, we got the seeds from Australia. And in November 2018, as I mentioned, we started selling to Village Grocer Bangsa. Now, even though that we want to be able to expand and sell to the rest of the Klang Valley, our dreams and our ambitions don't just lie within our state, within our current demographic. The demand in Singapore is also very high, for example, and the beauty of our farm and what we've managed to build with our system is that we can replicate the exact same thing in Johor Bahru, for example, where the cost is much lower and actually target the Singapore market over there. The funding size requires up to 1.7 million ringgit for 30% equity in our company. These will allow us to build up to 4 shipping container farms with the necessary facilities to streamline our operations and implement mobile applications and Internet of Things, for example, in our farm, so we can rely less on the labor. Us growing as farms compared to other competitors around the world, they started with technologies fully implemented straight away. We learned how to do it the hard way first, so we know what is required to make it much easier. Our 5-year projection, I must note that the first year will be a loss because, like building a mini factory of some sorts, there will be a period of non-revenue generation for the first 6 months.
Last slide.
Yeah, for the first 6 months. After that, we've actually understated our revenue over the next 5 years just to show that we can still be profitable even though if we don't actually end up selling 100% of our capacity. My last note to say is that what I've shown you is just a glimpse of a $5 trillion industry of the food and agri-tech pie around the world. Sustainer in Singapore started with 7 billion Sing dollars in the bank for their funding. Bowery Farms in the US got 90 million USD for their funding. Plenty got 200 million USD from SoftBank, and both for their CPP. Just to answer any questions for exit comparables.
Okay, you've eaten into the Tigers Q&A time now. Tigers, questions?
Can you go back to your numbers just now?
Sorry.
Yeah, this one.
Okay.
What's the performance of the company right now? In terms of sales-wise, have you started?
Yes.
What point are you at right now?
Okay, we're at a point of our sales are there. We've accumulated about 15 to 20,000 ringgit already since November. Our problem right now is that our farm, given the way that we built it, very DIY, is not optimized. So the production levels that we know we can reach is not as high as we're actually reaching right now. We've been setting up almost every week at Village Roaster Bangsa, and they're the ones telling us that when can you guys start selling to our other outlets. They want us to sell to Publica, to One Monkera, for example, and on average they're increasing their sales channels by about 3 outlets a year.
And your expenditure on capex is now to build up the base facility, so to speak.
Right.
How do you compare capacity of what you're planning to build with the forecast that you have presented just now?
Sorry, I'm sure.
So you're building your farm,
Yeah.
right? It has a certain level of capacity.
Yes.
How do you compare your capacity to sales?
Sales. Now the beauty about
Is it 50% of capacity, 60%, 70%?
Yeah. So the beauty about the vertical farm is that because we are controlling every aspect of the environment, we know about 90% sure how much our output is. So when we compare to the current numbers from our sales at Village Roaster, we are almost always maximizing our output. So we're comparing with current numbers.
Right. But my question is, you're building a facility with X number of capacity.
For farms, yes.
Right?
Yes.
How does that compare with your sales forecast? So if your sales forecast in 2021 says 2 million ringgit, right? How does that translate to? Is that 70% of your farm capability of outputs, or is that 100%?
I understand better now. So year 2, this growth projection takes into account reinvesting retained earnings over the 5 years. So what I've done is that in the financials, the P&L for forecast for 5 years. Year 3 onwards takes into account any profits earned to be reinvested into the farm and to build one farm at a time. So we know that the cost to expand with an extra vertical farm costs about 150 to 160,000 ringgit. In OPEX for the first 6 months of the farm and the capex in total. And yeah, so from year 1, year 2 is only about 4 vertical farms. And what I've done is that the total capacity that one farm can generate, the sales figures for that, I reduce it by 20% for year 2 and so forth.
You mentioned you need 1.7 million, right?
Yes.
1.7 million to build 4 container farms.
And 12 months of OPEX.
Is that enough to reach a 5 years projection?
Yes. Yes, it is. When I calculated minimum 4 vertical farms, the forecast for that is the right number for 5-year P&L to make sense. So I ran the numbers with 2 farms, 3 farms, even 6 farms, for example. More than 4, the payback period is much faster than 2.5 to 3 years around there. So 4 farms is about 2.5 to 3 years for payback period.
Yeah, hi. I think I like this space because I've actually invested in a few like food and agri-tech businesses. So solid numbers, I think the 2 of them have asked it. But what I wanted to know was actually, what is your differentiation factor, right? I mean, I know you're selling organic or fresh or anything, but yeah, maybe you could tell a bit more about what would prevent another player from setting up something and really eating into your market share.
Right. Okay, so there's 2 points to this. One is you could say first mover advantage, but we know it doesn't last that long. For example, Nokia, right? So that's that. The second thing, two more things. One more thing is our relationship with the food purveyor. So we have been in many meetings with them and the people who are in charge of the vegetable produce section, and they have told us and confided in us personally, saying that yes, there are other vertical farms coming out in the space, whether they're from overseas coming to Malaysia or being Malaysian born in the first place. But they tend to go to growing staple crops. Now, we know that our target market is within people who buy from Village Grocer and Ben's Independent Grocer. And Village Grocer themselves do research and collect data every single day from every one of their outlets. And they know that the market wants unique produce, stuff that cannot be grown here. Because Village Grocer are going to think to themselves, why would I buy lettuce from another vertical farm when I can buy it and import it from overseas or from Thailand, for example? They want vertical farms here in Malaysia, us, for example, to grow unique products. And we have like a hack list because Village Grocer can tell us like, okay, we know market wants this, can you grow that? Okay, let's look at the science of it.